Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Everything Koshur. I'm one of your hosts, Akansha.
And Ritvik here, joining you guys for another amazing session. For this podcast, we have another Kashmiri who's doing something really amazing, which is trying his best to preserve our heritage and culture, Dileep Tiku.
Namaskar. My name is Dileep Tiku. I came to United States long time back from India. I was born in Kashmir, and then um, uh, after my studies, undergrad studies in India, I came to US and pretty much worked here the entire life. And I came to luckily to San Diego when I came to United States, and after that I moved to the Bay Area. I live in Bay Area with my wife Sonia, and I have two daughters, Sandhya and Anika. So I also work in the technology area, but most relevant to Kashur is that starting 2023, we developed this heritage preservation program. I'll tell you what it was inspired by a little bit later, but this program, heritage preservation program, primarily has four pillars. So speaking about that, we're focusing on preserving the language. We're focusing on preserving the spiritual wisdom of Kashmir. We are focusing on the literature preservation for writers who have written in Kashmiri, their work. We want to preserve that, and then ultimately we are also trying to preserve sites in Kashmir, which are our heritage sites or sacred sites that we're trying to preserve. So that's the four pillars of the heritage preservation program. So in our heritage committee right now, the way the program works is we have a heritage committee where we meet every week. About seven people work in the committee, and we and for instance, in the committee, people have focus areas. Some people focus on the language, some people focus on the sites, others for literature, and so on and so forth. Um, I'm one of the most uh, passionate volunteers for preserving the heritage. I'm also the director of the Heritage Preservation Program for KOA.
Thank you so much for that introduction to the Heritage Committee as well as the preservation program, Dilipji. And thank you so much for joining us today. This is we wanted to have you on this program to basically have the youth know about the heritage preservation program, the four pillars, the Kashur Hechav classes as well, and kind of try to help them understand like, okay, what's the best way that they can contribute.
That's something so important, especially being so far from the actual homeland. And I know the Heritage Tour, you're you just returned. Did you go on the tour?
I personally couldn't go, but what our committee worked on is the souvenir for the Heritage Tour. We worked with Virender Hogji, Virender Hogji, and we worked together to develop the souvenir that was given to all the guests who came for that. And that souvenir was basically a booklet made up of articles related to the Kashmir heritage. It had a bunch of articles, and it's very, very it captures it very well, our heritage. And those articles were written by some well-known writers. We collated all of that.
That's very cool. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the Kashur Hechav classes because Ritvik takes them
Yeah.
and has been trying very hard to convince me to join and take some of these classes.
I
And
10 recommend those classes. I think my Kashmiri speaking ability has gone up a lot just
it
taking.
really has, since at least the last time I heard you speak in Kashmiri, it's very good. But
Yeah.
I'd love to learn more about the classes. So who's showing up and what would a first intro class look like and what does an intermediary speaker look like? Uh, I'd love to learn more about that.
Awesome. I'll let you know about that in a minute. But first of all, I'm so grateful for both you, Ankaksha and Ritvik, to have this program and invite me to join this program. You know why? You may ask, why do we preserve the heritage? The question is, why do we preserve the heritage? For our future generations. So for you guys, you are our future generation. We do all of this for you guys. Primarily so that you are uh, connected to your roots and you understand your identity. That's the fundamental goal of it, to make sure that our younger generation has access to that, to those resources, which would have been accessible to you in multiple different ways had we lived in Kashmir. But since we are dispersed and because of the exodus and all of that, there is not one place where we can all go and live that Kashmiri Pandit way of life. We have to sort of make efforts to preserve this and make sure that people like you who are interested in learning have access to the resources to learn it. So thank you so much for doing this program. Yeah, in terms of the Kashur Hechav, the way it is right now, the form it has taken is more of a conversational way of teaching. See, our language, Kashmiri, um, was written in Sharda originally. Sharda. The script was called Sharda, but most people don't know, including me. I don't know how to read and write Sharda. You see, and then what do you call? Some people write it in Nastaliq script. The in Jammu and Kashmir, the official script is still Nastaliq. Urdu,
Mm.
the script is called Nastaliq. And then some people, very few, write it in Devanagari, which
The
is
Hindi
called the
script,
Hindi,
yeah.
the Hindi script. Yes. Uh, but how many people know that? See, again, um, it's very difficult to learn the Hindi script if you haven't, if you haven't got a school and learned it like that. So therefore, what we did in Kashur Hechav, in order to simplify, we said we'll focus on Kashmiri speaking because that's how I learned. I didn't learn how to read and write Kashmiri as I was growing up. I learned it because my parents were speaking it, my siblings were speaking it, and the community around me was speaking it. I learned it like that. I didn't go in my school, there was no formal education to learn it. So that's what we thought, that a way to conduct these Kashur Hechav classes is to focus on the conversational aspect of it and avoid the intricacies of the script understanding and so on and so forth. So I think that's probably why this Kashur Hechav program, which we started in early 2024, has grown over the period because people are seeing the value out of it. So when we started at the beginner level in 2024, where we were just helping younger people to understand how to introduce themselves. Earlier, when you introduce yourself in Kashmiri or Kangsha, I told you that you already passed a level. the re, the reason
Very
being,
sweet.
yeah, the reason being when people join, they don't even know how to say that.
I think my Masi or my one of my mommies taught me how to say that when I was young, but my Kashmiri is only good because my I moved in with my parents during COVID, like everyone had to.
Mhm.
And I was in law school and I needed a COVID project, something that wasn't law school, so I wouldn't go crazy.
Uh-huh.
And so I asked my parents to teach me how to speak Kashmiri properly, but I told them they couldn't laugh at me.
Yeah,
They could just correct me because I want to learn how to do it properly, but if they made fun of me, it would be discouraging. So having a
absolutely.
class like Koshur Hechav in 2019, 2020 would have been awesome. But the integration and the conversation is really what makes it um, stick in your brain because to make those sounds can be so difficult. So then you hear it in your head, but to say it, to make those sounds properly, really takes practice. What's the most difficult sound that you found students have trouble making?
We have a few of them, like uh, zir. They can't say z, the
The,
word z.
also, it's like like third sort.
That one's the hardest word for me. I call it bubble roti because I can't make the t sound properly.
Correct, correct. So as a matter of fact, that's why we are also doing in this particular Red Goal or Summer 2026, we're doing a camp for pre-beginners. And the focus of that camp is it's a 5-day camp. And the focus of that is to get them comfortable with these sounds. Exactly that. So that when they go to the beginners class or like that, they don't struggle with saying those particular, pronouncing those particular sounds. So we're going to have a camp for that only, and we're actually going to develop content which has all these different sounds that are difficult, unique to Kashmiri and otherwise difficult for people who are speaking English to say that. But I wanted to also touch on one thing, Akanksha, that you said, very interesting, was what you said was that in COVID, when you talked to your parents, you told them that nobody can laugh at me when I'm speaking Kashmiri.
I just said they can't make fun of me.
Fun of me, yeah,
That's all I asked because
that's
my
all.
mom, she thinks it's so cute that
Yeah,
she laughs because she
it's
thinks it's
love.
a little funny, but
Right,
then it just feels so discouraging.
that's true.
I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I shouldn't do it.
Yeah. So one of the things that we have done in our class is we have a class commitment form. And in the class commitment form, we do say that you cannot laugh at anybody because of these reasons. That everybody in the whosoever attends the class cannot laugh at anybody else. This includes the faculty also. For that reason,
For
I
that
know,
reason.
yeah, for that exact reason, we don't want people to feel shy and not otherwise try. Because if they get
Exactly.
laughed at, they might not try and feel
The
embarrassed or something like
classes,
that.
the classes actually help in this additional ways that when you see someone, because they're like every weekend, right? When you see someone every weekend for like an hour over like a period of 4 months, you kind of like you don't know them, but you kind of like feel like you know them. You build kind of a community, and then it's everyone just becomes so supportive. Like in the youth trip in Nashville, I was like talking to a couple of people who I know from the classes, and we were just like we were just walking around Nashville, and in the middle of nowhere, some people would just like start dropping lines in Kashmiri, things that we've been practicing in class, and we would just laugh because it's like, oh, it's a callback to the class, but it's also funny. So I was walking with a friend, and then out of nowhere, he was like, oh, gas to rang, and we would just start laughing because they're like, oh, this is exactly what we've been learning in class.
Absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of this, there have been instances where people are are skeptic about why do we need to learn the language? Hey, the what does it give? Question is that we are here in this land, um, and professionally you need English um, and very few people speak Kashmiri. Then why bother learn it? That's the argument that some people can make. But the way I like to look at it is that there are two things that identifies a person in my mind. See, one is your individual identity, and then another is what I like to call collective identity. See, so because there are only so many people who can speak this language, I think this gives a collective identity to that people and assists in building those stronger bond because you belong to that community. It becomes that's how you're able to identify yourself with that community and the bonds become better, is what I feel. Otherwise one might say, okay, why do you want to learn? But it's these the connection to your roots and the clarity in your identity. This language helps. And there's another reason you mentioned that with the gosh sub, you mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
There are certain words and thought processes as Kashmiri Pandits that we have, and those are inspired by the language itself, the way we think.
So the highest possible level, what would you say is like a graduate student and their ability, or a graduated student and their ability to speak in Kashmiri? Is it someone that would be able to carry on a conversation with someone who's maybe living in J&K, or someone who can have maybe like a more surface level conversation?
In fall of 2026, what we call the Harudh 2026 program, were introduced four levels. There's the one which is beginner. So the beginner one level is the level where a fresh person who doesn't know cannot introduce themselves. They cannot introduce themselves in Kashmiri at all. So that will be the beginner one. Beginner two is they can introduce themselves, say where they live and those kind of things, some other basic things. Then they move to they can say that, then they move to the beginner two level where they learn multiple other improve their vocabulary and are able to say maybe very short sentences. And then we introduced intermediate level one. Intermediate level one is where they can have longer conversations, a little bit longer conversations than very short ones, right? So you can have uh, long sentences and continue with that context. Ultimately, the intermediate two is where they can develop their own stories completely and share that and be have meaningful conversations and are able to talk like that. So that's our level so far. In terms of the final graduation, the question that you asked, that the advanced level where they will be able to, we still haven't uh, defined what that advanced level is, because as we are going through the program, we're learning these different things. This program is new. We're also learning as we're going, because uh, we haven't learned formally. We're just making things up. A group of us. See, in this faculty, we have about several TAs, about 6 or 7 TAs. These are youth like you, and then there are also faculty members like who are native Kashmiri speakers, about 7 or 8 of them, and we sort of determine what the levels may be as we get feedback from each of the classes, and then we develop the levels. But yeah, so an advanced level would be yeah, one who can have a conversation with a native speaker and is able to pronounce clearly, so you don't have to worry about the pronunciation or accent, because sometimes people can have people can say things and have conversations, but uh, because of the pronunciation, if you speak fast, you might not understand what is that person saying. Yeah. So an
That's
advanced level will be clear pronunciation and long conversations with little or no accent.
Mm.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a cousin who he asked for tsaman, but he couldn't make the t sound, so he
Yeah.
calls it salmon. And he was like, "Can we have salmon?" I'm like, "Buddy, it's Tuesday. You don't eat meat on Tuesday."
Right.
But
So
when people ask me, does Kashmiri sound like Hindi, or are they very similar at all? I use words like zaman because it's like a sound that just is so foreign to so many
exactly.
speakers. So they're trying to figure out how to make that sound with their tongues, and it's something that's so like uniquely Kashmiri.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's another thing, as you practice speaking and all of that, the words come out right, and the pronunciation will become better. That would be an advanced or a fully graduate, so to speak, Kashmiri speaker. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess, yeah, yeah, building up to that's gonna take some time. Like I think I'm gonna still join like intermediate one right now, just so I can practice my sentences more.
Did you
I
But
say
mean,
that I would fit an intermediary one?
yeah, so I think Ritvik, you're really good. I mean, in terms of what I've seen you in my class,
thank
you can make conversations. You never get blocked or anything with words. I mean, sometimes very occasionally you used Hindi in it a little bit, but mostly you have that the knowledge about the words and all of that. Yeah, I think you should go for intermediate too. You're
okay.
ready for
Really?
intermediate too. You don't need to go into intermediate one. The practice, your pronunciation is not bad. So, but You just need more practice. That's all.
Mm.
And you did very well in intermediate one class. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Gotta okay, now I gotta do intermediate two again.
Yeah, I think you're ready for that. You're totally ready for intermediate too.
And when does the next session open up? Maybe we should do a quick plug.
Yeah, so the next session opens up on well, the registration is open now. The classes will start on August 8th, and they go all the way through November 20, just before the Thanksgiving. November 23rd it is, I think.
And they're every Saturday or Sunday?
That is correct. So what we do typically do is after you register, then we ask for time preferences of all the students, and then we try to give their first to second preference of time, uh, and we either on Saturday or Sunday. Now this time I did get a request specifically for a weekday because there was at least a person who said, "Hey, I cannot make either Saturday or Sunday." So we're also considering introducing one weekday of the class for those who cannot, whose weekends are busy, are extremely busy. So we're also considering that.
That's that's awesome. And are these classes you can sign up for free, or do you have to pay some kind of fee?
Yeah, so we ask that you donate for the heritage preservation efforts. So you learn the language and you donate some. So the reason we ask for donation, one, you get sort of committed to it because you're now invested at least something. That's sort of the idea that you invest something in it, you feel part of it, and then sometimes when things are free, you don't take them seriously so much.
Mm.
That's true. It's a very good.
So that's sort of the idea behind this. Two things. One, they can help the preservation efforts. For instance, um, you might ask, what do we do with that money? Um, One of the things that we are trying to do is create a docu-series project, you know, um, a docu-series of Kashmir story. We're tell the story of the history of Kashmir and the roots of Kashmir. Because there are some narratives out there, people have made docu-series where they talk about the Persian influence and as if that was the root of it.
The way that people talk about indigenous people, I find very interesting because I've learned that Kashmiri Pandits are indigenous
Yeah,
to Kashmir and that all the influence came from outside, but Kashmiri influence also impacted the Silk Road very, very prominently. And so the narrative that all of this influence all came into Kashmir and kind of shaped the culture is so reductive because Kashmir shaped so much of the culture in the Midwest and along the route, and we don't get any of that credit. And that narrative is just completely lost to history, it seems.
absolutely. And that's the reason why we're trying to produce this docu-series. It is an ambitious project, but we have embarked on it as part of the Heritage Preservation Program. And as a matter of fact, there are some youth members who have joined from KOA. Anant Kaul and Sachi Saraf have joined that program for developing the docu series, which is going to be based on a book based on a couple of books written by uh, Dr. Shonalika Cole, who's a professor in a university and award-winning books he has written. Our literature preservation lead Manoj Kaulji, dreamt of this idea because when he went to Kashmir, what he did is his father was a prolific writer also, Manoj Kaulji's. So he compiled all the work of his father and made a book. It was written in Nastalik and stuff like that, and made a book, and he released that in Kashmir. And as he was there releasing that book, and then he found these videos that people were seeing over there in Kashmir. And see, when we Kashmiri Pandits were living there in Kashmir, the Muslims who were born or younger generation knew who Kashmiri Pandits are because we were there. and had an idea of our culture or way of life. But now there are very few, if any, very few Kashmiri Pandits live in the valley. So the Muslims there, the younger ones, they don't know who the Kashmiri Pandits were and what they would how was their way of life. So if people tell them stories about Kashmir, they believe it.
Mm.
That's it. So therefore, the idea is that um, to share these videos, which sort of unravel the truth of Kashmir in a way, based on evidences. That's what when Manoj Kohli says that, he says that, yeah, this Professor Shonalika Kaul's book is evidence based, about how the Kashmir sort of evolved, what was the beginning and how it evolved.
That's amazing. Well,
That's a
so
great
you
segue because we focused a lot on the language pillar of the four pillars, but yeah, another thing that we wanted to ask about was how did the four pillars, the the preservation program, how did that like come about, and also address the other three pillars. But I guess first would be just like how did the idea of the preservation program come about? How did you guys decide on the four pillars?
Yeah, so it all started with one idea. So in 2022, late 2022, uh, I went to Kashmir along with my wife Sonia and my younger daughter Anika, and and also my sister who lives in Jammu. We went to Kashmir, um, and when we went to Kashmir in 2022, we had been to prior too. I mean, all of my family had been to Kashmir in 2014 also. That time, when we went in 2014, we were extremely cautious in going to places. But in 2022, after this Article 370 was abrogated and there were a lot of security personnel there, we felt very comfortable in going to different places. And that time we also went to a temple called Shivalaya Temple. It's in a neighborhood called Chota Bazar near Karanagar. And that temple, Shivalaya Temple, also has Ramakrishna Paramhams and Vivekananda and Mata. These three idols also are there, and people who believe in Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they go there. Vivekananda, they go there. My grandfather used to go there for 14 years every day in the morning at 4 a.m. to do puja. Okay, so when that happened, uh, but in 2019 or around 2014, 2015, there was floods in Kashmir, and that caused some damages to those statues. So there was a need for changing those statues. So when I came back, my mama just said, "Hey, we need to help that." So the idea started from there. I thought that I will seek the help from the community USA wide to raise funds for that particular site, Shivalaya, to reinstitute those new sort of statues there because they were already doing it. So that started the fundraising for that one temple, and then once we found that one temple, then we found that uh, there are people, Dr. M.K. Razdan from Texas, who's already also doing this preservation of sites. For instance, he has helped in building the guest house in Zetier.
Oh, really? Oh, those guest houses are like great. We every time we visited Kashmir, we've always stayed there.
Absolutely. So that was Dr. M.K. Razdan has a part to play in it. So we met with these like-minded people, and therefore we said, oh, we can just make this program, for such that we talk about sites in Kashmir, whichever projects are happening, how can we help them? If government is helping any of those projects, fine. If the government is not helping, then we can pitch in, depending upon which members of our community have yearning for which side. Some people care about one side, some people care about another side. So we wanted to make sure that we have a way for people, if they are inclined for a specific sides, they can help that and support that side. That's how we thought of sides pillar, right? And then we talked about what other things do we need to preserve from a heritage preservation program. Uh, So one of the things was about spiritual wisdom. So Kashmir Shaivism is considered a jewel of Kashmiri Pandits, you know, and has some has things in it, the concepts which which have guided us, all the Kashmiri Pandits, throughout their generations, throughout the multiple generations. We don't realize it, but
I've
it.
heard of the term like Shaivism quite a bit.
Mhm.
And would this be considered, I'm sure this would be like under like Hinduism, but would it be considered like incredibly distinct, or is it just more like, since we primarily focus on Shivji, and we're always, a lot of our rituals are focused on that. Like Herat is a very big festival for us.
Yeah,
Is that why? Is that what covers Shaivism, or is there something that's more distinct?
that's a good question. Kashmir Shaivism is similar to many other Indic philosophies like um, Advait Vedanta. It is similar to that, but there are also differences. There are similarities, but there are also differences. The unique thing about Kashmir Shaivism is it's not it's not necessarily rituals we're talking about in Kashmir Shaivism. When we talk about Kashmir Shaivism, we talk about the concepts and the philosophy. The primary philosophy is the Trika philosophy that became known as Kashmir Shaivism. Trika philosophy because it originated in Kashmir, where many people, many gurus came together, and then there was this Abhinav Gupta who synthesized information from all these other Indic philosophies, multiple Indic, including Buddhism and those other I mentioned Vedanta, Buddhism, and some other things. He synthesized that information and developed this Trika philosophy. It's the philosophy which was Trika philosophy which was developed in Kashmir that became known as Kashmir Shaivism. And the concepts of that are slightly different than the Vedanta philosophy, which many people in India also follow.
Well,
See,
what's something that you would call distinctive to Kashmir Shaivism?
the one of the most distinctive things about Kashmir Shaivism is that we don't believe that this world is fake. In other words, if you see what Advait Vedanta believes, they believe that they also believe that
There's
we
a classic saying like "Sab kuch moh maya hai," like
yeah that they yeah so the similarity between Advait Vedanta and Kashmir Shaivism is that the principle of non-dualism. What that means, God and we are not separate. All of us, including the God and us, we have the same ultimate universal consciousness. The universal consciousness that makes Shiva Shiva and that makes us, Ritvik and Dileep, is the same. So we are basically same as Shiva, is what Shaivism says. Advait Vedanta also says that God and us are one. But what they say is that these differences that we see in the world are unreal. But what does Shaivism say? Shaivism says this is not unreal. This is also real. Kashmir Shaivism says that these differences that we see in each other, that's also real. It's just manifestation of the consciousness in different ways, but real. Vedanta says it's unreal. We say it's real. That's what makes us different. We meaning, I mean, when I say we, sorry, I mean the Trika philosophy says
Mhm.
it's
Gotcha.
real. That's the Kashmiri Shaivism.
So many of the things that make Kashmiri culture unique and so distinctive have unfortunately it seems been kind of lost with elder generations where things like Herat or Pan, you see the rituals and you see, okay, we have these garas, but what do they represent? Why are we using Doon? Why is this a multi-day festival, whereas the rest of India treats it as one evening? And I think one of the barriers, at least for myself, has been that I didn't know what questions to ask, and the people in my life who were doing the traditions and doing the rituals didn't really know how to explain it. So
Absolutely.
having these kind of classes, having these kind of, the docuseries that you're talking about, making something that's able to be digested by other members of the community so they can learn, I think is so valuable.
So we also have Kashmir Shaivism classes. As a matter of fact, there are two youth members that are in. We currently offer the Kashmir Shaivism 101 and Kashmir Shaivism deep dives classes. So I wanted to talk about this, and I invite the youth members to join these programs to learn about this. What is the philosophy? It's not rituals. We're not talking about rituals. We're talking about the philosophy, a philosophy which helps in the well-being.
And are they like regularly scheduled classes, or is it
Just,
just like
yeah, just like we have Kashur Hechav, we also have Kashmir Shaivism classes.
interesting?
They also span around the same time. They will start them in August and all the way through November. They also happen on the weekends. Uh, so we're going to. I would like to share that. That's why I'm so excited that we're able to come to this and speak about those classes that see you didn't know. This way, more people will know about them and consider joining them if they want to learn about, for instance, Kashmir Shaivism or Trika philosophy like that.
So if there was something that you could say to all the Kashmiri youth that are listening about why you feel the Kashmiri Shaivism and Koshur Hechav classes would be a worthwhile addition to their busy young adult schedules, what would you tell them?
So, Kashur Hechav is basically once they learn the language, they will have the answer of where they belong to, the roots. The roots will become clear, and they will have a clear sense of their identity, as I believe. Kashmir Shaivism will give them so much profound knowledge that they'll feel extremely empowered to take whatever challenge comes their way in the life.
I think that's great. I personally I would like to join both of them. Uh Michipan Kashur practice karun.
You'll rock once you come to those classes. Yeah,
Dhanyavad.
think
Thank you to Mummy Papa.
Yes. Yeah. One concluding question I wanted to ask was, do you have like milestones for like the Heritage Preservation Committee? Like, are there things that you want to achieve like over the next couple of years, like moving forward?
Yeah, so I mean, we also have in our committee the person named Pampoj Zuchi. He asks those questions all the time. Okay, what's the goal? And for instance, the other day he asked a question. Okay, so how many students in Kashmir Hitcho do we have, and so on. And so in Harudh 2025, we had about 60 students who joined, and not everybody graduated because some dropped later on because of one reason or another. In in spring 2026, we had 80 students that joined, and out of that, about 60 or 65 of them graduated. But we're hoping that in 2026, more will join. So we go to a bigger number like that. And then uh, what we're also hoping that these docu-series project that we're embarking on, and then we're also embarking on a transliteration project. Again, our literature team, Manoji, Vikram Kosaji, and we're trying to work on what do you call trans transliterating all the works in Kashmiri. I mean, it's a huge project, but that goal is that all the books that are written in either Nastaliq script or Devanagari script be transliterated into a script which is Unicode compliant.
Oh,
And the reason we want to make it Unicode compliant is so that the platforms like Google or some other platforms can pick up that and then be able to translate it, in different languages. So people, that gives it more reach. It becomes accessible, and even an AI model can pick it up and then share what's in that. So that's also a major undertaking that we're trying to think. So hopefully that the ultimately we're able to transliterate most of many of the Kashmiri literature into that Devanagari Kashmiri, compliant Devanagari. That's one goal. Yeah. So the doc series is another goal. We want to have more, uh, you know, many kids into this Kashur Hechav program, so the language becomes so that in the KO youth, when you have these camps and all of that, Kashmiri becomes one of the much spoken language rather than here and there.
yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. This was incredibly informative, and I'm sure a lot more. We like Anika, Sandhya have been doing like a great job talking about the Kashur Hechav classes, and hopefully a lot more of the youth kind of get to know about the Heritage Committee's work, and want to like join the Shaivism classes, more Kashur Hechav students as well. Really looking forward to the outcomes from this program over the next how many ever years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm once again very grateful and thankful to you to remember me and so that I'm able to share about the efforts that our Heritage Preservation Program and Committee are doing. Thank you so much for inviting me, Ritvik and Akant.
Thank you for being here. Culture survives when people like you and other volunteers work to make sure that younger generations know their roots and know where they came from because it's hard living in a country like this, being exposed to so many cultures that it's hard remembering, what makes your own so special. So thank you so much for being a guest on our show and for doing the work that you're doing to make sure that our language and our heritage stays preserved.
Thank you to you to show interest in it. This makes my day a lot. It's for you guys, for the youth to learn and to know what our heritage is.
Thank you all for listening. We hope you had a great time learning more about Gosha Hechav and the Heritage program and join the classes. Make this something that's worthwhile.
Yeah, I wanna see some new faces in the next intermediate class.
I will definitely be there because now I really want to practice my Kashmiri.